Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're going to ponder whether making it modern is a valid reason for a rewrite. Going with this, I this is mostly a discussion about front ends.
Hmm.
I have seen over my career a pattern of you have a front end or a report or a view or whatever, and it's fine. And time goes by, 5 years or so, and somebody says, "Oh, we need to rewrite this to make it modern. It's looking dated." And so then they embark upon a full rewrite of the UI, and things go badly from there. Things often go badly from there. And as we are never rewrite, with some few caveats, I was wondering, is having to refresh your front end a valid reason to do a rewrite? And of course, this is
Depends.
never rewrite, so the answer is no. And thank you all for listening.
All right. See you next week.
See you next week. Shortest episode ever. The reason I'm going to go with no is that there's a lot of embedded assumptions in the idea that you have a front end and it's gotten dated
Mm-hmm.
and you need to refresh it. Because one thing that an analogy people say is like, oh, well, you have a kitchen and it can get dated and then you want to refresh it. You want to repaint the walls and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but you still have the same, kitchen or bathroom, or even if you change out all the appliances, they're all still in the same spot. If you're going to start over, I guess the problem with starting over is it assumes that you still want everything in the same spot. So if you imagine you have the walls of your house,
Mm-hmm.
right, and all the electrical outlets are there, and the water is there, and the gas and everything else, going with the kitchen analogy. If you're going to refresh, right, you're going to paint the walls, you're going to change out all the appliances, even if you're going to change out the counters, everything still has to be in more or less the same place because that's where the electricity is, that's where the water is, that's where the power, the gas, if you have gas,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The back end, so to speak.
Right. The back end is still set. You aren't opening the walls, as they say, and so the new version is going to be very similar. Like whatever you come up with is going to be the same, very similar to whatever you had before. And typically people don't want that. They want, when they say, "Oh, I'm going to redo the kitchen," they aren't saying, "Oh, well, I just want to swap out all my appliances and maybe put new doors on the cabinets."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a refresh. When people are like, "Oh, well, we need to make something modern," they want to open the walls. And suddenly as soon as you open up the walls, as soon as you're changing the back end, everything is out the window and you're into a full rewrite.
Well, I wonder if we could still poke at this a bit more because there's an example.
Mm-hmm.
My team is loosely working on this. More like we're just trying to provide some insight into some legacy behavior so that a different front end team can dream up new designs for how, like, I guess it's a very similar case. So like the front end is dated.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new design that will actually not just refresh the way the page looks, but the UI is going to be different because they've gotten feedback on what things make sense, what things should be removed. And then
Mm-hmm.
in working in that front end, it's all like replacing elements based on responses from PHP, and then finding them in jQuery and deleting them and replacing them. Everything is jQuery, right? It's very, very old in this case. So the new developers that are hired, they're TypeScript people. They want strongly typed systems, and they want to work in this. So they think, if we're going
Mm-hmm.
to go ahead and basically change how 80% of the page works, and a lot of this front end code has to change, including a ton of like 3,000 lines of jQuery. It would be
Mm.
great just to go ahead and strongly type this front end. So not rebuild the entire front end, but essentially they're almost pitching a thesis ship aspect of certain pages of the front end getting refreshed at a time. But when you refresh it, building that in TypeScript or something more modern. So it's not a full rewrite of the front end. It's a single iterative replacement at a time. I think
Would the
there's
new
something to be said
pages
there.
look like the old pages? Because this
Mostly,
is usually
yeah.
where the thesis ship or thesis ship breaks down is
Mm-hmm.
you've got 10 pages, and at the end you want 10 refreshed pages where
Yeah,
and people say, oh, you can't have 9 pages that look one way and one page that looks the other. So we're going to hold off,
yeah.
and we're not
I
going to
think
release that one page until we have all 10.
that's the thing where people go wrong with it. I think it
Yeah.
is okay, and it should be considered that whenever you do this, having one page that's not in the style guide is fine if you're releasing them iterative one by one and refreshing them. I think where
Mm-hmm.
you go wrong is you're like, everything's got to be perfect. We have to have the perfect design on every single page before we can release anything to the customer, as if like the
Mm-hmm.
customer is not going to get any value from it if you release it one at a time because it just looks so different. Even if it worked, even if the behavior for the page or the user experience is so much better, you just want to save it. This idea, I don't care if it's the back end, front end, the
Yeah.
idea that you have such a cool idea that you cannot iteratively release it. You have to release it all at one big time and play like blow out the little party poppers.
Well,
I
it
think
looks
that's what
bad. I
people.
mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. It looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
And my local supermarket is doing a major refresh,
Mm-hmm.
and that place is kind of a disaster area right now. They they are moving shelves. They've shut down things. Their teams. I go in there, and 10% of the store is under reconstruction,
Yeah.
and most of the store is disarrayed because they have sort of shoved stuff over because they're in the process of fixing the store, and it's annoying, right? You walk in there and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, what are they doing today? But it's okay. But not as a customer, I think it's okay because I'm like, oh, well, I see what they're doing. They're making the store better. It was a little rundown, and
Mm-hmm.
they're refreshing it, and I'm sure it'll be great when they're done. It's kind of annoying right this second, but I see them working. Right, every time I go in there, the old stuff is smaller, the new stuff is bigger, and they're working somewhere else, and I see it.
Yeah. I think in this case though, and at least the example I pitched, the customer doesn't see the construction. Like you're designing, for example, a new version of one page that they don't see yet, and you can maybe feature flag it or whatever you need. And then once it's ready, they see the new page. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not troubled by this construction in this metaphor.
Well, they are if they see one new page and 9 old pages.
Yeah, maybe. I think product could make that argument that it just looks tacky, but I think the argument could be made that giving the customer a refreshed page, especially if the UX on that page is so much better, that using the page is made simpler for them and they
Mm-hmm.
understand what they're doing. I think it's okay to release a page that looks different. I mean, you see AWS do this all the time. Every single page you go to is a different style, right? Because a different team owns it, and that's okay. As long as it works, I think product cares more about that consistency than the customers actually do when it comes down to, does this work? Does this thing actually work that I'm paying for? That's
Right.
my feelings though on it.
I agree. I've found that most product, and especially the design group, never agrees.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
Yeah. People who care about design uh, hate the idea of going forth intentionally with mishmash and tacky designs.
yeah.
Eh,
But I think the only argument that can be made is that it looks bad,
mm-hmm.
even if it's there's like 1,000 pros on the other side for de-risking and providing immediate customer value, and uh, I think better design, better test coverage, all of this that comes along with it. So I feel like I guess it depends on where we're drawing the line on rewrite again for the front end. Is the rewrite every page has to be released and refreshed at once? I feel like that's a rewrite. I feel like
Yes.
we're thesis shipping if we are able to release one page at a time with a new design that doesn't quite match the rest of the site, but it is still iterative one at a time testing that helps us go through and understand our old system and make a better one. Even if we do rewrite, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, from jQuery to a TypeScript front end, if we do it in an iterative manner, we're avoiding this kind of big bang rewrite that we are using when we say the term rewrite on this show.
Right. I agree, and yet I have never won this argument.
That's a really good point. Oh yeah.
Right. I have made this exact argument of it is better for our customers to get this stuff out early,
Mm-hmm.
and it's better for just our ability to deliver to get it out, get feedback early. And yet, I have always lost to the argument of it will look tacky and we can't let the customers see it look so tacky. Like
Yeah.
what customers see always wins out over what customers actually experience.
I think that's a shame.
Yes.
I think if we're not going to release a better design that's less confusing to the user just because the blue is not the brand blue for the rest of the pages and the buttons have a little bit of a larger border radius, then that's doing a great disservice to the customer, personally. But, I think I'm reaching.
Yeah, I agree. So how do you feel about the other alternatives to the Big Bang rewrite where you could update the existing code to be TypeScript
Mm-hmm.
and modern and then improve the UX? So reskin what you have
I see. Yeah.
and then improve. Or conversely, no, I guess that there was no conversely.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the second alternative is an additive, right? You have the original page, and then you have the beta experience page, and allow them both to live side by side. Which, again, in my argument, would be this lowers the risk even further. Like, yes, we have a page done. This is what the new thing is going to look like. We only have one page done. We'd love your feedback.
Yeah, I like the second alternative better. I like the idea of the beta page living alongside, where you can actually swap back and forth and give feedback and see them living next to each other. Because then you can still deliver updates to the second page too. Whereas the first one, if you're just rebuilding for parity in TypeScript for the sake of doing that first, I think it would be a harder sell, because if you're going to go ahead and reskin some of those components, some of those new things that you build might not be used anymore in the new design, but you're just building it now for the sake of parity. I feel like an argument for wasted time could be made there, whereas living alongside it and providing updates and letting them swap back to the old experience if something goofs up. That's great. That's a great alternative. Oh, the beta didn't work for me. It doesn't allow for this. They must have missed that. I'm switching back to the old experience, and they've got that choice.
Right, where you get around the cutover by not cutting over. Instead of having one, and you can use the new version or the old version, you can just have both, and they can live alongside for some period of time.
And then you can get that feedback too, because you have a really harsh contrast. People kind of forget what the old design was like after a little while. Like imagine Slack over the years. It's changed and people didn't like to change. Then they got over it. Now maybe you don't quite remember what the old one used to be like. Whereas this case here, and then they make the choice for you. It's just, you're using the new experience. And if you provide the beta experience, then they can go look at that and go, oh, I like that. But I did like some parts of the old system that I felt like were a little better. And maybe you already got some customer feedback whenever you're designing the new one anyway. But it's also good always to hear some feedback on those choices, even if you don't take all the customer feedback to heart and you're going to still go with your new system. I think providing the harsh contrast to jump back and forth is a really great opportunity.
Right. So I think where we're landing at is on the question of, is making it modern a valid reason for a rewrite? We're landing on no, because not only do we feel like it's going to be slower and less efficient, but it's also extremely disrespectful to your customers.
Yes. And again, for new listeners, because I know we've defined the term rewrite a few different times, this is the case where we're talking about like a big bang rewrite. Like we're going to redesign the whole thing and release it as one big, here's a new system, which is the riskier one.
Right. It'll be one day the system looks like this, and the next day, boom, it looks totally different.
So, yeah. And then the newer method being, or the preferred method being refactoring one page at a time and letting that live alongside the new and old one, letting people swap back, get feedback. And iteratively releasing these pages, even if the styles are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're rewriting or refactoring part of that page anyway, you're probably doing that because you're trying to get more value to the customer, and so holding that value back just for the sake of it doesn't look pretty and align with everything else is unfortunate. I would not do that.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.